Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you see and if you want to see more. Coming up in today's episode, 2 games from the Super League, France and Huddersfield, and 3 games reviewed from the NRL. So after some technical hitches when bringing you the highlights from the NRL, I'm going to just do a standard report in games. And first of all, the game that we're going to cover is the Sydney Roosters versus the Newcastle Knights, as both teams are looking to open up the season with a win. But the Knights have spoiled the return to SCG party for the Roosters, handing them a convincing 20 points to 6 defeats and restricting the Glamour Club to just 1 try in their NRL season opener on Saturday afternoon. The Knights themselves scored 4 tries, and had it not been from a late 4-pointer from Tricolour's Penrith recruit Paul Moravsky, it would have been a complete humiliation for Trent Robinson's men. So the Roosters were supposed to be a force to be reckoned with in season 2020. Following the return of several stars after long injury, including halfback Luke Keary, who was out for 24 weeks with an ACL rupture, outside back Joey Manu, a broken cheekbone from Latrell Mitchell's tackle, which required 3 plates and 12 screws, and origin forward Lindsay Collins, with an ACL injury sustained in May. But the Knights did not get the memo and played with classy and committed football for a deserved win. There's no need to panic by any means, as the Roosters have made the finals for the past 5 years, despite their losing their first round games 3 times, including 2018 and 2019 when they won the Premiership. But it was a mixed up afternoon for Tricolours, especially for versatile lock Victor Radley, who firstly was placed on report for a crusher tackle in the 23rd minute and then went off on the 25th minute for a HIA after independent doctors on the sideline raised alarm bells. Radley had tackled Knights 5'8" Jake Clifford head on and initially stayed out on the field, but doctors said he soon displayed obvious signs of concussion. With Billy Smith failing a HIA in the 53rd minute, the Roosters were down to 15 men for the rest of the game. The Roosters fans were out of their seats early as James Tedesco sailed over the line in the 10th minute, but the bunker ruled a Connor Watson obstruction. The Hunters fans were on their feet when Dane Gagai, returning to the club where he spent 6 seasons before a 4-season stint with South Sydney, strolled over unmarked for Knight's first try. A fend and flick from Bradman Best put over winger Enari Tuala over for the Knights' second, which sent the Knights fans screaming once more. So it was quite a one-way. It was 10-0 and the Newcastle was swarming like bees around the Roosters. A Sam Walker penalty was just seconds before the break was the only shine on the Roosters' first half, as they avoided the embarrassment of going in scoreless to start their 2022 campaign. But there was more opportunistic play for Newcastle when a wayward pass from Roosters forwards Jared Wairara-Hargreaves and Sio Takiaho went to ground. Clifford was there to scoop up the loose ball and race 40 metres to score under the post. His conversion gave the visitors a 16-2 lead. The Roosters weren't able to capitalise on the Knights being reduced to 12 men, after Phoenix Crossland was simbined for a professional foul after holding back Walker. Winger Daniel Tupou did get close in the left corner, but the touchline and the defence from opposite Dominic Young ended any hope. And minutes later, there was a Dominic Young's attack. An acrobatic leap just shy of the corner post that gave the Knights their 4th try and put the match beyond doubt. It was left see Paul Momorowski score the final try of the game, which was unconverted, but that was only 4 minutes left on the clock, and the Knights seed off the Roosters for the win. It was all smiles for the Dragons in the second NRL game of the day at Sunshine Coast Stadium, where New Zealand Warriors are based, as the Warriors beat the Dragons thanks to a hat-trick from Fijian powerhouse Mikaele Ravalawa, who inspired the St George-Illawarra's win over the Warriors in this season opener. The Dragons overcame a slump either side of half-time and losing the lead to a missed forward pass to pull away from the Warriors late and kick their year off with a 28-16 victory. St George-Illawarra fans had every right to be up in arms when Peter Goff missed Sean Johnson's chucking a ball forward for Elisa Kotoa to stroll in for the try. For the first try of the second half, which gave the Warriors their first lead in the game at 16 points to 14. The Dragons started strongly after Ravalawa and Jack Bird pulled out a 12-0 lead on the back of their tries, but gave the crowd flashbacks of their torrid 2021 season when they lost direction, fell off tackles and made shocking errors in defence to let the home team back in. It was Jack Groziewski who committed the cardinal sin of shooting out of the defensive line to open up a yawning gap that led to a Wade Egan 4-pointer after rising star Tyrell Sloan decided not to play at a Dalin Watane Zalesniak grubber that he recovered for another score. The 19-year-old Sloan admitted later that he was stupid for letting the grubber go, but it was a blip on an otherwise sound game from the youngster, who threw the last pass for his team's first and 2 scores, kicking things off with a brilliant cutout. The Rock continued for a joint venture after the break before they were returned to what was worked well for them in the first half, being the Dragons, and finished all over the top of the Kiwis. Ravalawa scored his second try on the 58th minute, which went unconverted, but the Fiji international completed his hat-trick on the 66th minute in a powerful display that saw him rumble for 173 metres with 3 line breaks. A plus with Zach Lomax once again that he's one of the NRL's masters of the flick pass, as he shot the ball out back to the Fijian for his last try. Ben Hunt picked up where he left off in a good display as well, since the Charity Shield win over the Souths, and he would have gone over himself if Chanel's Harris Tavita hadn't pulled him up in a desperate tackle after the half threw a dummy and charged through just shy of the scoreline. Sean Johnson was strong in his highly anticipated return for the Warriors, drawing an awful error out of Goziewski with a smart play before the line, and pulling off a 40-20 that put them in a position for Katoa's score. One area of concern for coach Anthony Griffiths of the Dragons will be worried about was the Warriors' dominance in the offloads department, where they nearly doubled the Dragons' tally. So now we go on to the highlights of the Super League games, as there were 2 played on Saturday, one at 3 o'clock and one at 5:15, and these are the 2 games. First, we're going to have a look at the John Smith Stadium tie between Huddersfield Giants and Castleford Tigers, while Wigan Warriors are still in France and they travel to Catalans Dragons. So looking at the 2 sides, we have Huddersfield Giants, who have only lost 1 game out of the 4 so far this season, while Castleford Tigers are looking to put together a run of results after a disappointing start of the season. kind of slowly getting back into it with players coming back like Greg Eden. And so let's have a look at the teams. So the away team first, with Castleford Tigers naming an unchanged starting 13 as they look to continue their form as they won the last game 33 points to 6 against Hull. There were only changes on the bench, with Sam Hall and Brad Martin dropping out, with Liam Watts returning after suspension and Kenny Edwards returning to the bench. The Giants, however, have Daniel Levi first of all returning to the starting lineup, with last week's replacement Adam O'Brien taking his place back on the bench. That means Ash Golding drops out of the 17, but on the bench there is one change as Oliver Wilson drops out and Joe Greenwood returns to the bench. So we're into the first half and it's Huddersfield that strike first as they send an attack towards Chris McQueen first of all, and he's held up, and the ball is worked inside for Oliver Trout to score the first try of the game after the video referee confirmed the grounding. Will Price added the 2, so that's 6-0 to Huddersfield. Huddersfield are attacking once again deep in the half, and a kick to the centre sees Chris McQueen hand off the ball to Luke Yates, who gets a video referee decision of try on the field, but the video referee confirms it, which Will Price adds the extras again, and it's 12-0 to Huddersfield. On the 28th minute, Jake Truman gets sin-binned for a pullback on Chris McQueen after they get into a kick chase with each other. But it takes to the 33rd minute when Huddersfield make the numbers mean something. After Levi passes the balls off to Russell and then Luatelli, the ball finds Will Price, who passes the ball through to Leroy Goodjoe, and Jermaine McGilvray bundles his way over the line for his try to make it 16 points to 0. Here's that try again. Russell to Luatelli, to Will Price, to Goodjoe, to Jermaine McGilvray, who bundles the winger out of the way for the try. Will Price adds a penalty just before half time, so that is 18 points to 0 to the Huddersfield Giants. And half time. But Castleford get a bit of beneficial as Huddersfield are down to 12 men as well, due to Danny Levi doing a late tackle on Joe Westerman. But they don't take advantage of this numbers game until the second half, as Castleford are on the attack, and Liam Watts is the one that receives the ball just inside the Huddersfield half, and they're on the break as he finds a gap through the line with Jake Truman on the inside to go over for the score. O'Brien adds the 2, and that is 18 points to 6. Here's the pass and run again. It's a great effort from Castleford, and Jake Truman gets over the line. After this, a tackle on the 4th for Gareth O'Brien sees Mane Fanua dive from dummy half to get over the line. The referee calls for the video referee to have a look, and he does his checks. The video referee gives this, and it's converted as well, and Castleford are back involved, 18 points to 12. There are some things that are certain in Castleford. Decent chips and a Greg Eden try. And after the ball goes through the hands, they find the winger in a bit of a gap, and he dives over in the corner, which Gareth O'Brien adds the extras to. At this time, Huddersfield are back down to 12 men, as they have Jermaine McGilvray in the bin for a late tackle on Gareth O'Brien, which finds all this space for Eden. He was 2-1 to score at any time during the game. That's printing money for the man who scored now 97 tries for Castleford. And the numbers gain pace again as Eden stands up Will Price and breaks up the field. And as he evades another tackle, finds the pass inside for Jake Truman to add another try to the game. Here's that try once more after a bad pass. He fends off the youngster, Greg Eden, and then that ball back inside is fantastic. Huddersfield are back on the attack again once more as we find that Jake Lawler is in the bin for Castleford and Ricky Lulatelli takes advantage of the numbers game for his first try of the game on the 63rd minute, which Will Price adds the extras to. Great little dummy to deceive Alford for his first try. After a set-up play by Chris McQueen, once more, who's getting more and more involved in the games, Daniel Levi throws the ball left as the numbers are there. And after evading Paul McShane, they find Lulatelli again, who dives over in the corner for a second try to make the scores 28-24 to the Giants. Will Price has this kick too. And it's a 16-minute hat-trick for Lulatelli, who dives over in the corner for the third try after the video referee checked the grounding and gives it. Look, James Charlie is saying that's his third try. And that's how the scores end. 36 points to 24 in the favour of Huddersfield Giants. After the game, players and coaches alike were having their say about the amount of yellow cards that were involved in the game, as this one seen 4 for Levi, McGilvray and the others being notable. After the Levi incident, Castleford player Joe Westerman said, "I just want to say I'm not in favour of players getting sent off, and the tackle on me, I don't think it's a send-off. He got me good. He gave me a stinger, which is part of the sport." This came after Ian Watson's comments regarding gamesmanship that he fears is creeping into the game more and more, and backs for a full crackdown. On the back of a full crackdown in foul play. The Simbings were the ones that really hurt us, and I'm not too sure on them. There's a little bit of gamesmanship creeping in, and the wrong type. The game is hard enough to referee without players feigning injuries. He did, however, have some words for his own side in that respect. "We cannot kick out on the full and have 2 men in the sim bin and then be able to compete at a Super League level," Watson said. "We were winning by 2 scores and forcing the pass, so we went a little bit dumb there. But the way we came back shows the resilience within the group. We are all playing for each other and playing as a team. Once we got good field position, we scored points." Lee Radford also had some points about his team, and he was a little bit unhappy on certain aspects of the play. "We were reluctant to be stiff defensively in the first half, and that will continue to kill us unless we can fix that," Radford said. "The swing in the game must mean it is a great to watch game as a neutral, but the knock-on effect is big. We need to learn how to defend with 11 or 12 men because that, getting yellow cards, keeps happening. I said the same thing before the game started. This game is about territory and field position, and at one point in the first half, they had the ball for 9 sets consecutively. And unfortunately, that blew us out at the end of the game." So while one team is happy about the result, the other side are not happy with the manner that they played. We'll have to see what that translates to in the next game when it comes to Huddersfield Giants and Castleford Tigers. So the next game, as you can see, is Catalans versus Wigan, as Wigan complete their 10-day trip to the south of France in what was going to be possibly the hardest game of the season, while Catalans are coming up against the Wigan Warriors, who have yet to be beaten this season, and are on the back of an impressive win against Warrington Wolves, despite being depleted in numbers. So, here are the teams. There is one change in the backline for Wigan Warriors as Zach Hardacre goes out to the wing, and Jake Bibby comes back in the centres in place of Abbas Mitski. In the halves, we see Tommy Lulai move back in with Cade Cust, while in the forwards, a returning Willie Iser makes an appearance instead of Morgan Smithies. Smithies in fact moves to the bench in place of Oliver Partington, and it's no changes on the bench otherwise, apart from with Patrick Mago, Liam Byrne and Joe Shorrocks making up the rest of the 17. On the Catalan side though, it's the returning Sam Tompkins at fullback that makes all the headlines, with Sammy Soni Langi and Dean Ware returning in place of not Fuad Yar's replacement. Romain Franco drops out of the starting and also the bench, so Romano starts on the right wing. In the halves, there's no change for Pearce and Josh Drinkwater, with Mickey McAlorum coming back in at halfback in place of Alex Da Costa. Otherwise, on the starting lineup, there is no change, but on the bench, another returning ex-Wigan man, Gil Dudson, comes back from suspension. Tyrone May finds his place on the bench. Mikel Guberdamon again is on the bench, and Joe Chan. So, Catalans are missing Sam Cassiano. So we're starting the fifth staff with no scoring until the 16th minute, where Catalans are deep in the Wigan's line, and Mitchell Pearce scoots from in first receiver at a scrum to dive over the line for the first points of the game. Steps through Liam Farrell and Jay Fields to score the first try. On the 37th minute, on the last, Mickey McAlorum's kick is picked up by Gudamon just before any Wigan players get hold of it, and scores after checking with the video referee for 10 points to 0. It was actually 16 points to 0 at half time, as Sam Tompkins converted 2 and also kicked 2 penalties, as Wigan's defence was very fractious and very, shall we say, lazy, and it was all going one way, Catalans, and that continued in the second half. Wigan had tackled Sam Tompkins deep in the 20, but a kick by Josh Drinkwater wasn't fielded by Cade Cust, and Mitchell Pearce was on hand just to dot down. We'll see that kicking try once more. It was a good arching kick, but Cust couldn't get full arms on it, and Pearce was on hand to dot down. Again, deep in Wigan's half, we see Catalans in the 10, and Josh Drinkwater puts in another kick, and Sammy Soni Langis appeared to have got to the ball before the Wigan man. Went to the video referee once again, the third try of the game to do so, and after checks, having a look from the front view now. What a good kick that was, no matter what happens in this decision. Ooh, did it come by, or was there just enough downward pressure? Let's see what the video referee said. Another try for Catalans, but then on the 71st minute, after a hard push, it comes back to all the biff as Cade Ellis and Jason, forget his surname, my apologies, got into a fight. Both ended up taking the showers to finish the game. 12 men for both Wigan and Catalans. Zera, that's who it was. Justin De Zera started throwing hands. If those who like the fights are all back. After conferring with all the officials, the red card did appear for both Ellis and De Zera. Then Ellis got his marching orders as well, as you see him leaving the pitch. And the scores finished with Wigan not scoring since their defeat against Leeds last season in a 28-0 result for the ever-improving Catalans Dragons. It wasn't the only punch-up that happened, as a few tackles later, John Bateman and Mickey McAlorum got into it as well. The former teammates, they've won titles with each other. They both got tattoos at the same tattoo parlour at the same time. They were mates. But fiery rugby league field makes you do strange things. But anyway, let's hear what the managers have to say for both sides. Matt Peake must have felt that this was all too familiar, as in the last trip to the Catalans in 2021, their unbeaten start to the campaign was ended by the Catalans Dragons 48-0 in another scoreless scoreline for Wigan Warriors. Pete was an assistant coach at the time under Adrian Lamb, but he went on and said this about the game. I think we were given a lesson in how to play wet weather rugby in Catalans, Pete said after the game. We were in double figures for errors and we didn't kick well. I'm disappointed we didn't show the best of us. We didn't give ourselves a chance. We had made too many errors early in the game, and Catalans are too good of a team. And if they get you to your line consistently, they will score points. We were not good enough over the two games, and it's highlighted where we're at as a group. And it's important we stick together and work ahead and attack this next stage of the season. Steve Mcnamara, on the other hand, was very happy with his team's performance and did mention this about his team. It was really efficient, Mcnamara said after the game. We knew the conditions would be bad, so we set ourselves all week for a really basic performance. I thought we were efficient. In the 30th minute, so the first 30 minutes, we kept Wigan at bay and got the scoreboard rolling. Once you get in front on a day like this, it's very difficult for other teams to bring it back. On Jordan Desiree, he said he retaliated and threw a punch, and the rules said it will be a red card. He will get a ban for that. So the final game of Saturday that we're going to cover is the West Tigers home match against the Melbourne Storm. The West Tigers are trying to get on the board straight away to start to produce and organically grow the team, while the Storm want to get back to their consistent best that they were throughout last year. Even though the Storm against West Tigers had Jerome Hughes starring as they fought back from 14-6 down midway through the second half to avoid a loss on the opening day for the first time in 2001. A serious Christian Welsh injury soured the Melbourne Storm's victory over the West Tigers at Western Sydney Stadium. But the win did get a little overshadowed by the injury toll for the Storm, with Welch, Robert Jennings and Brandon Smith all forced from the field. The tone was set early in the match when Smith suffered a suspected fractured hand that would likely rule him out for a month. Jennings then followed what was a suspected season-ending ACL tear before Welch limped off in the final minutes after fears that he's ruptured an Achilles tendon. Trent Loiero could find himself in trouble for a cannonball tackle which felled Luciano Leilua early in the second half, and the Storm forward was lucky not to be sent to the sin bin. If Hughes was not dominant for a 10-minute period in the second half, the night could have been a lot worse for Storm. The half-back bagged his first big moment on the 58th minute when he stepped past 5 Tigers defenders from 10 metres out to score a brilliant try, with the conversion drawing the Storm level at 16-16 after an earlier Loiero try. Hughes was at it again 8 minutes later, breaking through from dummy half out of his own end to put Storm on the attack. For the next play, Justin Olam put Xavier Coates clear, and the former Bronco scored in a sensational try for his first Storm try, which was even on his 21st birthday to give the visitors a lead. Ryan Pappenhausen then finished the job by grubbing an offload into Remy Smith, who scored in the same play to seal the match. But like the commentary said, the West had a 16-0 lead as Ken Mulimalo scored a double for Tigers, with David Nofaloma posting a 4-pointer for the home side during the first half blitz. But the Storm came out victorious in the end, 26 points to 16, and that's possibly my first correct discussion for the correct scoreline for the game this season. And that's it for another episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and also share this video worldwide. I know I did cover the Challenge Cup games from Saturday, but I will do that on a future episode, as they need to be covered, as they are coming in to playing Super League teams. I'll do them all together as 10 games. I can give you the scores and scorers, everything like that. Probably tomorrow, because there's no Super League games tomorrow. But there are NRL games. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Tell me what your thoughts are of today's video. Do you think Wigan are not as good as people are thinking? And Catalans, are they getting better after their early season dip and indiscretions? What do you think about Watson's claims about gamesmanship? I'm not too sure about that. I think it's just that the rules still need adjusting, but there's no lenience coming from the upper echelons of the RFL. The NRL, well, St. George-Illawarra, and also not St. George-Illawarra, Newcastle Knights getting on the board. That was fantastic. St. George as well getting on the board. But the Knights were the ones that I was trying to think of, as they were impressive against the Storm, who might just need a few more tweaks to their season starting offensive to be a competitive entity, should I say just that. And finally, the Storm go about their business like they normally do, through a grinding, attacking, and also intelligent form of play. Wests are getting better. They're getting closer towards the top back. Wouldn't be surprised if they're involved in the playoffs at some stage. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll just wish you all the best. Please stay safe, and I'll see you in the next episode.